Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So today is going to be a slightly different video to what you're used to here on the channel. So we're actually going to go through my entire boot collection that I currently have. And when I say collection, I'm not a boot collector of any sort, but I have accumulated a few pairs of football boots, especially over the last few years after partnering with a few brands and some retailers. They'll send me boots to either make videos for, take photos of. So I've got quite a few pairs here, about 30, I'm not sure exactly how many. We have over 30 pairs in total. So we're gonna go through each pair. So this is gonna be the last chance I have to make a video like this, because after this video, I'm pretty much donating 90 to 95% of this entire collection, because I only have one pair of feet and I can't use all of them. I don't need to use all of them. So I'm going to keep a couple of pairs for training and matches, but the rest of them I want to donate. So I've got an organization in mind who provide old boots, old gear to clubs and organizations that need them. But if you have any that you know of, drop those in the comment section down below, because I want to make sure they're going to a good place. So we're going to get into it. We've got a few brands to get through, starting with Umbro. We've got Puma, we've got Nike, Adidas, and a few Mizuno pairs as well. So I'm going to go through each pair, but remember at the end of the video, I want you to drop a comment. Let me know which boot you would choose if you could, if you've tried any of these, which are the best performing, and I also want to know which ones you think are the best looking. So let's get right into it. And first up, we're starting with Umbro. So before I start talking about the boots, I want to make it known I am not a boot expert of any kind. I'm certainly a boot enthusiast. I really enjoy football boots, but at the same time, I might get some of the model names wrong. I might get the year that they were released wrong. So bear with me when it comes to that. And also, if I give my opinion on any of the boots, that is my opinion on my experience. It might be your favorite boot and I might not talk very well about it. Doesn't mean it's not a good boot objectively. It might just not work for my feet. So just want to make those two things clear, but let's get right into it. So kicking things off, we have Umbro. So I've got two pairs of Umbro boots. They sent them out a little over a year ago. Had to do a photo shoot for them. On my right, in my right hand, I've got the Umbro Velociter 4s, I want to say. I believe there is a 5 out as well, but the Velociter is Umbro's speed range. And then in my left hand, we have the Acura 3, I want to say. So this is more of their control boot. So this material on the upper, I guess, is meant to either harden up or soften maybe when it makes contact with the ball. I've actually not tried these at all, not even been on my feet. As you might have noticed watching my videos, I really like white boots, brighter boots. That's just my style. So I have tried out these, the Velocitors. I wore them for a couple of hours doing a photo shoot and a few very simple drills in them. So not had a really good in-depth test of them. But what I will say is when it comes to the modern day boots, I think Umbro needs to step it up a little bit. I've not tried any of their newer models, but they have great heritage boots. And as someone who grew up in England, pretty much all of my youth teams wore Umbro kits. And my first pair of boots was actually a pair of Umbro Speciales, and they were fantastic. Some of the best quality boots on the market. And I think they should stick to that a little bit more, because when it comes to modern technology, I just think other brands are doing a better job. And I think Umbro's charging about the same amount for their boots. So you would expect more from a company that's competing with brands like Nike and Adidas. So in my opinion, if I have to use that money to spend on the boot, I'm going to go with brands where I think they're a little bit more advanced in terms of modern day boots. But those are the Umbros. Next up, we've got Pumas. Next up, we have Puma. And if it's going to bother you the way I say Puma, because I'm from England and we speak weird, you might want to skip ahead, because I'm going to say Puma many times. So getting into my first Puma. So starting off with the Puma Ultra 1.1, and story about this model in particular. This is actually the prototype that came out before the general release. So there was limited numbers of these. Puma actually got in touch with me and said, we would like to send you out a prototype boot. We can't tell you anything about what it's like. We're just going to send it to you. It's going to be blacked out. You're not going to know anything about it, and you're going to give us some feedback. And then when it comes to market, you'll find out what the boot is actually called. So I remember the boots showed up in a box. They had the labels and everything scratched off of the box. They didn't want me to know what the boots were called at all. And then I opened up the box, and the first thing I see slapped on the side of the boot is the word Ultra in big letters. So But in terms of how the boots performed, I was very impressed with the Ultra 1.1s. It was something that reminded me of the Evo Speeds, which is a boot I actually wore a few years ago. I thought they competed really well with the Mercurials at the time. I can't remember which model I have. I think it was the 1.4s or something like that. But I thought they were great performing boots, and I think Puma as a whole is still slightly underrated. Obviously, they're acquiring bigger players like Neymar, which is going to help the brand grow in popularity. But I still think they are competing with Nike and Adidas when it comes to the objective performance of the boots. I think these are some of the best speed boots on the market. They've had some updates, of course, since the 1.1. I think we're on the 1.3 now, which I haven't tried. The only thing that kind of held me back from using these as match boots is the toe box was a little bit wide for me, and I really like my boots to feel like they're hugging my feet completely. I really like that wrapped sensation, but they're very light. They're amazingly comfortable. You can slip them on right out of the box and they feel amazing on your feet. So that's a huge plus, but just because of the toe box being a little bit wider, it stopped me from wearing them in matches. Maybe that's something they've improved on the 1.3s. I'm not sure. I've not tried them out, but a great pair of speed boots, some of the best on the market. Then this was the launch colorway. I really enjoyed wearing these, wore them quite a few times in my videos, trained in them a few times as well. I really like the orange and the patterns on the top, if you can see the stitching. And then they actually updated the boots slightly to the 1.2, and I actually had to look this up because I couldn't see really any differences in the overall build of the boot. And I found out the only difference is, I don't know if you can see on the heel, but on the 1.1 the stitching kind of stops midway through the Puma logo there, and then on the 1.2s they go all the way to the back of the boot, and that's the only difference. So it's more of a facelift than any kind of performance upgrade. So I didn't even try these out just because they look like the exact same boot as the 1.1, so I didn't want to mess up a brand new pair of boots. As you can see, they still got the tags on them, but that's the 1.2s. And then here we have the 1.2s in a laser touch variation, which means the front of the boot is leather. So I actually picked these up myself, and I will say this is probably one of my favorite boots of all time, but it's got one major flaw which has stopped me wearing them. The only issue with them is the durability. When I say I only used them for 2 weeks, I really mean I trained in them maybe 6 or 7 times. They were going to be my match boots, and as you can see, the sole is already separating from the upper. So that's a huge letdown for me. And because they're so limited, I couldn't send these back and get another pair. They'd already ran out of my size. So that's a big shame. If they can figure that out, how to keep these more durable, this could be a regular feature on my feet for sure. So a great pair of boots. This is the laser touch. I believe they are 1.2s. But unfortunately the durability is just not there. And keeping with Puma, I've got 2 pairs of the Future Zs. I think they're the 1.1s as well. So this is the launch colorway, I believe. I've also got this pair which were released for the Euros. Really nice colorway. We've got the white and it's kind of a multicolored on the band here. And probably one of the best looking boots of the year in my opinion. So in terms of comfort, these are an absolute 10 out of 10. The only thing that I'm not keen on, for me personally, they're a little bit wider on feet, so I don't feel very locked in. I prefer more of a speed boot feel. I like them to wrap my feet and there to be minimal movement when I'm cutting, changing direction. These are a little bit more roomy. So if you're looking for that ultimate comfort, to feel like you've got slippers on your feet, these are going to be the way to go. I like slippers at the right time and place, but just not on the football pitch. So these aren't going to be my match boots, but a very solid pair of football boots. This next brand is what I consider the Rolls-Royce of the football boot industry. And of course, I'm talking about Mizuno, more specifically their made in Japan models, because their made in Japan models use some of the finest leather you could possibly find on a pair of football boots. They're all handmade in Japan and they're put on a last for, I guess, 24 hours or something like that, where most brands do it in 30 minutes to an hour. So the detail put into each boot is a lot more than what you'll see from other brands, and maybe they don't put as much money into their marketing or their sponsorships and things like that, but you cannot deny the quality of their football boots. First up, I've got the Rebula 3s, which is Mizuno's control line. They have the Rebula Cups, which is the latest release from the Rebula lineup. But the Rebula 3s were some of my favorite boots from Mizuno. Great all-round boot, lightweight, streamlined. You kind of get a speed boot feel from them, even though they're not marketed as a speed boot. I think they've definitely got a lot of elements that make you feel like you're in a pair of speed boots, but the leather is incredible quality, very supported as well. You can see kind of the framing underneath it. A lot of leather. You can see where the stitching separates between a synthetic heel and the leather forefoot. But unbelievable pair of football boots. We also have the Mercurial Neo 2s, which is Mizuno's speed boot line. They have the Mercurial Neo 3s now, but the Mercurial Neo 2s were around for, I think, almost 10 years without any changes to them. Maybe it was even longer than that. So they didn't update them, didn't make any modifications because they were that good. People really liked them, they were consistent, and they just had their loyal fan base, their loyal customers, so they didn't make any changes to it. So that's what I really like from brands, when they can come out with a model and just keep it for many, many years. You know it's going to be high quality. Some brands do that still. We have Adidas who do it with the Copa Mundial. I think Umbro should be still doing that as often as they can because they have some of the best heritage boots on the market, and they don't need to complicate things. Mizuno is one of those brands that don't overcomplicate their boots. You don't see new models from them every few months or every couple of years. They do make updates to their boots, but once they do, they're usually around for a long time because they're all about quality over quantity. And then finally, we have the Mercurial Neo Betas, and I'm just going to say these are definitely in my top 5 boots from the entire collection, not only from looks, but also performance. So the Betas came out between the 2 and the 3 from the Mercurial Neos. So this was kind of a test launch. They were starting to make some updates to the Neo before they finally came out with the Mercurial Neo 3. So on the Beta, it's very similar to the Neo 2. It's just kind of shaved down, a lot lighter. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but the sides here are kind of translucent. So very thin upper. It's basically just a thin version of the Mercurial Neos, keeps almost the exact same sole plate. If I had to critique one thing about Mizuno, maybe just the Mercurial Neos, is the sole plate. And although it's a solid sole plate, it does the job with the conical studs. I'd like to see something a bit more aggressive on a speed boot. Maybe more bladed studs, more chevron. They've got one here in the middle, but I'd like to see a few more angled studs so you can really claw that ground away. That's something I always expect to feel from a speed boot. But as I said, the sole plate does the job, and it's not something they probably are going to change because they've had a solid feedback from their clients, their customers. So I can imagine that they'll probably stay consistent with that for years to come. But that's Mizuno. Moving into Nike now, we're starting off with 3 pairs of Nike Tiempo Legends. So we've got 2 pairs of Nike Tiempo Legend 8 Elites, and we've also got 1 pair of Nike Tiempo Legend 4 Elites. So there wasn't elite models really at the time, but Nike did release a few elite models with carbon fiber sole plates. I forget which year these came out. But the only reason these are still in good condition, still in my collection, still wearable, is because they're soft ground. And it's not often that I'll play on pitches that require soft grounds, just because I'm either playing on artificial turf or a lot of the grass pitches around here are only bad after it's been raining, maybe just after the winter. So I've gotten some use out of these, but they're still in very good condition, just a little bit of mud on them. But these are one of my favorite boots of all time, certainly in this collection, and also one of my oldest pairs in this collection too. But I also had the firm ground model of these, and I wore them down to the very bone, so they fell apart in the end. Unfortunately, I couldn't get another pair, but I absolutely loved them. There was something about the Tiempo having a modern twist on them with the carbon fiber sole plate. They were a lot lighter, and up until this point, I'd always seen the Tiempo as a bit clunky, a little bit bulky, not something I wanted to wear as someone who typically wore speed boots. But when I tried these out, the balance between lightweight and comfort was something that I just couldn't get enough of. So I wore them in matches, wore them in training sessions, absolutely beat them down to the ground. Glad I've still got a pair, and every once in a while where I will have to wear soft grounds, I always look forward to getting these back on my feet. Also got 2 pairs of the Nike Tiempo Legend 8. This pair here in the blue, black and white I've worn mainly for videos. This pair here is my second pair of this color because I absolutely loved it, not only in terms of how it looks because it's so clean, all white, it's my favorite colorway, but also in terms of performance. I was really blown away by the Nike Tiempo Legend 8 where I tried them out for the first time. I just thought the fit was excellent, really good lockdown, which is something I didn't expect from the Tiempo, certainly not something I've experienced on previous models. So with the quad fit mesh, I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people thought Nike was we're starting to step away from the classic heritage of the Tiempo, and we're a bit more modernizing it, which not everyone agreed with, but I liked it at the time, and just objectively I thought they were great performing boots. I got through a full pair in maybe 3 or 4 months, training in them almost every day, playing matches. And I have a little bit of a bias with these because I wore them during the 2019 NPSL season, and I can't remember what I was wearing, but I hadn't scored yet in about 6 games. And then I got these, and in the first game wearing them, I scored a goal and then ended up scoring in like 5 consecutive matches or something. So I've got a little bit of a bias with these, but in terms of comfort, incredible. I really like the texturing on the upper. You can't really see it on these because I've worn them a lot. But you can definitely see them on here. Kind of that diamond texturing. Reminds me a lot of the Tiempo, I can't remember if it was 4s or 5s, like the Ronaldinho ones they came out with, where they had the little diamonds on it. But those are the Tiempos. Continuing with Nike, I've got a few pairs of Phantoms. This first pair here is the original pair of Phantom Venoms. So this was the launch colorway, but I was really impressed. I got to try these out within the first couple of weeks of them launching, and I really enjoyed them. They reminded me of the Total 90 Lasers. I believe these probably would have been a continuation from the Laser if they continued with that model. Great strike zone. The only thing that kept them off my feet in matches was I prefer the Mercurials in terms of feel on the ball. I like to feel really close to it, and the material is a bit thinner on the Mercurials, and so that's the only reason I didn't wear these in matches. But in terms of training, I absolutely love to wear them. Incredibly lightweight, comfortable, just great performing boot. I like the sole plate as well, very aggressive. Also got a pair of Phantom Venoms in the, I can't remember what this colorway was called. It was like a sand colorway or something like that. But I only got a couple of wears out of these, even though they look incredible. And finally, in the Phantom lineup, we have the Phantom GTs. So this is the launch colorway, I believe. They also came out with a black and white pair, which I also had. I got to try them out just before they launched, actually. I did something with soccer.com, and I enjoyed them. It was a different experience. I would say I preferred the Phantom Venom over the GTs, in my opinion. These just fit a lot better, feel lighter on your feet and more streamlined. These just feel a little bit bulky to me. They do have a nice striking surface and good texture, so you do feel that grip on the ball. But in terms of overall performance, there was just something about the fit I didn't like. I didn't feel like it really hugged my foot. It felt like I was rolling my foot a little bit inside of it. Just overall, just not convinced on them, to be honest with you. Let me know if you've tried them out. I think they're a bit more suited to wide-footed players, and I know a lot of wide-footed players really enjoyed it. I do have quite a narrow foot, so that could be the reason that they just didn't feel right for me. But let me know your thoughts. And finally, from the Nike boots, I have Mercurials, which, as you can probably tell, is one of my favorite boots to play in and train in. So I've got quite a few pairs. I've had many other pairs of Mercurials as well throughout the years, but I wear them to the ground. I absolutely love Mercurials. Just how tight they feel on your feet, how close you feel to the ball, really suits my style of play. I like to feel nimble and sharp and aggressive. We have Superfly 7s, I believe. So this is from the Neighborhood pack. I actually still train in the Superfly 7s regularly. I wear them over the Vapor 14s because I just think they perform better. They just feel more comfortable on my feet, and the material just feels thinner. I feel a lot sharper and closer to the ball than I do in the Vapor 14s. That's just my personal opinion. I've also got the Superfly 7 in the orange, white, and black. Stunning colorway, and I've also got the exact same colorway in the indoor variation as well. So these are Superfly 7 Elites, and what I really like about this model is that Nike actually put an Elite upper on an indoor sole. So most brands, they just take one of their cheaper models and throw an indoor sole on them. You guys might have struggled with this. You're trying to get a good pair of indoors and you just don't find anything that's anywhere near the quality of your firm ground boots, but this is the closest I've found to matching that quality. You've still got the Flyknit upper, and it really does feel like a Superfly when you're wearing them. So I was wearing these for outdoor at the time, and as some of you guys might know, I play professional indoor football in the winter. And when I switched to these boots, it really didn't feel like a big transition. It almost felt like I was still wearing Superflies. And then these are not only some of my favorite Mercurials, but probably my top 5 boots from the entire collection. So these are Superfly 7s, but they're the Mercurial Dream Speed. So Nike will come out with the Mercurial Dream Speed once in a while, and it's for their top players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Mbappe. I think Bruno Fernandes wore these as well. But the design is just beautiful in my opinion. Obviously, I love white boots. Just the design in general, I think it's really cool. And obviously, it's a Superfly 7, one of my favorite Mercurials they ever came out with. So it definitely makes the top 5 list for me. And then I've got 2 pairs of Nike Mercurial Vapor 14s. So this is the launch colorway. I think they called it the Dragonfly. So as you can see, a lot going on there. They added a few new elements which they highlighted with all the different colors. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I've also got a pair of the Raudacious pack too. So this is a beautiful pair of boots, very clean looking. They released these for the Olympics this past summer. So really nice design. In terms of performance, it does feel like a Mercurial. It's a great pair of football boots, but for me, for some reason, I didn't feel as close to the ball as I did in the Superfly 7s. So I still actually use these over the Vapor 14s, but still a very good pair of football boots. I'm gonna keep a pair of them in my collection because I do train in them from time to time. I've played a couple matches in them as well. Great overall performing pair of boots. Objectively, just my personal preference. I like to feel a lot closer to the ball, and I feel like I get that more from the Superfly 7. So moving into Adidas now, and although it is my last brand of the collection, I do have quite a few pairs of Adidas boots, so we still have a few to get through. So starting off with these 3, we have the Nemesis Plus, we have the Predator Plus, and we also have the Nemesis .1. So starting with these 2, because I've actually not worn either of them, and for good reason. So in terms of the Nemesis Plus, I tried out the previous pair of Nemesis Plus. I think it was the Nemesis 19 Plus. And I just have to be honest, it was one of the worst football boots I've ever tried in my life. Absolutely no lockdown whatsoever. One of the most difficult boots to get on, and I don't understand why, because even when you get it on, it doesn't feel that tight on your feet. And just I couldn't understand what the performance benefits were in terms of all of this extra bandage on the upper. It just felt really loose to me. And on top of it, this is one of the most ugly colorways I've ever seen as well. So unfortunately, I didn't even give these a go just because of how bad my experience was in the 19 Plus, and they didn't make many, if any, upgrades to the Nemesis Plus. So I didn't even want to get these dirty because I knew I would never wear them again in my life after that, so I didn't want to waste them. So unfortunately, these will never touch my feet, and I don't want to slate them too much. And if they're your favorite pair of football boots, don't get offended by that. This is my personal preference, my personal opinion. They might work absolutely wonderfully with your feet, but for me, it felt like I was going to roll my ankle every time I changed direction. I even tried going half a size down, and my foot was right up against the end of the boot. It became uncomfortable, and still there was no lockdown. So unfortunately, I never had a good experience in the Nemesis Plus, but they're in the collection. Moving on to the Predator Freak, I believe it's called. Again, I've not actually tried these on my feet. I have tried the Predator .1s, so that's the version with laces, and it's low cut as well. And I was impressed by that. It was a good football boot, not something I would wear for matches just because it's a little bulkier than what I personally like. I'm more of a speed boot kind of player, but it offers a lot of comfort. You can get a lot of spin on the ball with the Demon Skin because these are so grippy. You do notice a difference when you're striking the ball and also dribbling. I actually found them to be a bit too sticky for my liking. When I was dribbling around, the ball felt almost stuck to my foot. I couldn't get it out my feet as much as I usually could in a normal pair of football boots. So I didn't even give these ones a go just because I knew it's not something I'm going to wear often, and I was a little concerned with the lockdown as well, so I don't want to waste it. And also on top of all of that, I just don't understand what is the point of this. Why is it so high? I feel like they could have easily chopped this down. Is it so Paul Pogba can like comb his hair at halftime? I really just don't understand why it's so high. What are the benefits of it? If you know, let me know in the comment section down below, but I won't be trying these out. But overall, I'd say they're probably a solid pair of football boots. If they're in any way like the .1s and you like that laceless feel, they seem like they're a bit more streamlined and have a bit more lockdown than the Nemesis. And now moving on into the Nemesis .1. And although I just absolutely roasted its older brother, I do think that the Nemesis Point 1 is an excellent pair of football boots because you get that customizability with the laces so that you can get that lockdown you're looking for, especially with something that's branded as an agility boot, which obviously means you want to be changing direction quickly. In the Plus model, I don't understand why they've advertised it that way because I think that's one of the lowest performing areas of the boot is the lockdown and the responsiveness when you're changing direction. But with the Point 1, because you have the laces, you do get the lockdown and it's actually a great experience. I really like the sole plate, it's very aggressive and they're comfortable because they're made out of this agility bandage. It really molds to the shape of your foot and overall just a great performing football boot. So continuing on with Adidas, moving into the X now. So starting out with the X 17.1. So this is kind of the era where I personally started to move away from Adidas for a bit. It was 2016, 2017. They'd gotten rid of the Adi Zero, which was one of my favorite boots of all time. Wore it consistently for about 5 years. My last pair was the 2015 model. It kind of had that ghost pattern on them. I had a couple of pairs of those, so they lasted me a little while longer into 2016. But once those wore out, I tried to go to the X 16.1s. And I just wasn't impressed. Very bulky, didn't feel like a speed boot, not reminiscent of the Adi Zero at all. So I didn't feel like it was a continuation. So that's when I turned to Mercurials for a little while. I tried to give the 17s a go, thinking they might be a bit of an improvement. They were slightly, but still not quite there. It wasn't until 2018 that they brought the 18.1s and the 18 plus. And although they didn't really fit my feet well, my toes would bunch up and they weren't comfortable. They were a lot more like the Adi Zero, so I felt like Adidas was starting to come back. And then I got the 19.1s. These are the soft ground variation that I got recently, but I had another pair of 19.1s and they were much more comfortable around the toes and they offered that speed boot feel that I wanted. Also got a pair of Adidas X Ghosted Point 1s, and these in terms of performance are one of the best boots Adidas has come out with. Just unbelievable traction. This sole plate is so springy, you feel light on your feet, you feel like you can accelerate at any moment. Just an overall quality football boot, and if you want that Adi Zero vibe, this is the closest thing to it that you're going to experience. Really thin upper, almost translucent, that's how thin it really is. And the final boot from the X lineup is the Speed Flow Plus. And I'm going to put this out there. This is by far the best laceless football boot I have ever tried, and honestly it competes with a lot of football boots out there that have laces. It's that good. And as somebody who was very skeptical about laceless boots after trying them out for a few years and just not feeling convinced on the lockdown, these have changed my mind completely. They absolutely fit like a glove. It's almost like a vacuum fit. When you put it on, you feel the air escape. It's like you just feel it all escaping, and then it just molds to your foot perfectly. They're so lightweight. They have that same sole plate, so loads of traction, really snappy. So the ultimate speed boot in my opinion. I've actually worn these in matches. I never thought I would ever wear a pair of laceless football boots in matches until I met the Speed Flow Plus. And last but certainly not least, because I've definitely saved the very best until last, but these are my limited edition boots. So there's some remakes, there's an original pair of F50s, and we also have a pair of remakes of the David Beckham Predator Precisions from 2000, 2001 era, but these are indoor. These are the only pair on the table that I actually wear, and I'm surprised how well these perform because they took a 1-to-1 upper from those Predators and they slapped it on an indoor sole, and they also included some boost technology. They're incredibly comfortable, the leather is super high quality, and they just perform so well. I absolutely love wearing these for indoor. You've got all those striking elements as well. They are definitely thick, but that's how the Predators were back then. They're a lot more streamlined now. This is one of those OG vibes when it comes to Predators. I've also got a pair of Adidas Predator Absolute remakes. So these came out about a year ago I got them on soccer.com. They were limited. So these are from my collection, a beautiful pair of football boots. I don't think I'll wear these just because I'm not sure how they would actually perform today. They're quite bulky, and also just because they're white and I mainly play on AG, there's absolutely no way these are going to be touching any AG pitches. It will just absolutely tear them up. And now these are very special. So these are a remake of, I believe it was 2014, could have been 2015, but they were the Adi Zeros that were out at the time. These really remind me of Karim Benzema and Gareth Bale. They were definitely wearing these. A bit bold. I didn't wear these at the time. I'm not sure if I would now, to be honest. I wouldn't want to ruin these, but these were very limited. Each major retailer like Soccer.com, ProDirect Soccer, some others, they got to collaborate with Adidas and come up with their own colorway of the Adi Zero. And these are actually quite new, so they were only out maybe a month ago or so, not even, but I got these from Soccer.com, and they're a remake of the Adi Zero Primes. So I think that was 2011 as well, maybe 2012. But they came out with a prime variation of the F50 Adi Zero that was a bit lighter. They shaved some weight off, and they've taken the exact upper and they've put it on a ghosted sole plate, or a Speedflow sole plate now probably as well. So this is one of the best sole plates on the market, so I'm not mad at all that they just put it on a up-to-date sole plate, because if I do decide to wear these, and I might actually, just because they're a little less bold than the pink and blue ones, but also because they've got a modern sole plate, I think they'll be wearable today. I might actually break these off the shelf next outdoor season, we'll see. In fact, these remakes also have that ghosted Speedflow sole plate as well. And again, one of the best sole plates on the market in terms of traction, responsiveness, that snapback feeling that you get, always feeling on your toes. Not mad at all that they decided to put them on some of the best uppers in the history of football boots, in my opinion. And now absolutely saved the absolute best boot until last. This is an original pair of the 2011 F50 Adi Zero. So these are the synthetic ones. At the time I had the leather variation of these and I wore them to the ground. The whole toe split open, the sole plate came away. I wore them so much and absolutely loved them. And that was the boot that started my streak of wearing F50 Adi Zeros for the next 5 to 6 years after that. So this brings back so many memories for me. So I'm going to be keeping this one in good condition on my shelf. Maybe I'll break it out for a special occasion, but I remember I used to get a lot of blisters from these. So it takes a while to break these in. Not so much with modern day boots, but these are back in 2011. So 10 years old. And you would have to break them in. So I'm not sure if I'm going to take them off the shelf or not. I managed to pick these up from Holtz Boots, a boot seller on Instagram. He also has a website, but he hooked me up with these and I'm eternally grateful for that because they're just my favorite boots of all time. So if you want to find boots that maybe are a few years past their release date, and sometimes even boots from way back when, like these, he might be able to pick those up for you. So check out Holtz Boots. I'll link that in the description box below. But that's actually it for today's video. That's the entire collection. It's actually starting to get dark out now. That's how long I've been in front of the camera. As I said, something different from my regular content, but I hope you enjoyed it. And as I said, this is going to be the last chance for me to do a boot collection video because the majority of these boots I'm going to be donating so that other players who need them can have football boots. But if you made it this far in the video, I want you to comment down below, what is your favorite boot from this collection, whether that's how it looks or how it performs if you've tried it out. But I also want to know, what is your favorite football boot of all time? And the more detailed your story is, the better. I'm looking forward to reading these. I want to know which boot, which model, which colorway it was, and why it was your favorite boot. Doesn't have to be because it was the best performing. It might be because there's a certain memory attached to it. Maybe you scored an amazing goal in these football boots. I really want to know, so let me know down below in the comment section. I can't wait to read them. But I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, make sure you smash the like button, hit that subscribe button for weekly training videos and sometimes even content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.